Welcome to part 2.
Welcome to part 2 of 500 million years of drag history. Drunk.
Drunk Drag History, starring me, Sasha Velour, and my very special guest, Miss Malice. Queer scholar, PhD holder, the D stands for...
Dyke. I'll say it so you don't get canceled.
Thank you. Can't have that happen again. Also, the famous femc of the Switch and Play drag collective here in Brooklyn.
We are monstrous women together.
2 monstrous women.
Drinking cocktails and talking shit about drag history while drunk.
Threatened.
Like and subscribe.
We have somehow arrived in the 1960s. This is an era of drag dichotomies, not so dissimilar from the current era in which pop culture's increasing liberalism leads to an obsession with drag on stages, in film, in art, but queer and trans people's lives off stage are characterized by enormous oppression. In 1972, Britain's chapter of the Gay Liberation Front released a zine that asked, "Why is Danny LaRue a West End institution when we get kicked out of our flats for wearing a skirt? Apparently it's all right if you're doing it for money, but perverted if you do it for personal satisfaction."
Yeah.
Danny LaRue was, I think, the first drag queen put in Vogue.
Wow.
In the
okay.
1970s, and was gay and open about it as well. And there were other figures at the time, like the Theater of the Ridiculous with John Vaccaro and Charles Ludlam, which became part of the New York underground theater movement. Warhol superstars like Holly Woodlawn and Candy Darling, who said that they had no idea when they signed up for it that there would be no money to be made. They made no money while Warhol became a huge success. And of course, later Divine from John Waters' movies. They were hailed as brilliant for using drag as art in a time when queer expression was really limited.
There's also like a long history, I think, of justifying certain forms of like dress and gender expression, like through like, I must do this to survive, right? So I'm merely doing it to survive. Like I'm not really perverted. I'm not really fucking with gender. Just like, what is one to do?
This is a metaphor for the way identity is abstract. It says nothing about me personally.
Right.
In Tokyo, a drag artist named Akihiro Miwa became famous and then started appearing in films, a lot of like horror and romance films, and hosted and starred in a monthly show in the Shibuya district in the 60s that ran into the 2000s. And in Mexico City, a queen named Frances got her own show in the 70s called Frances la Fantasía Hecha Mujer. The fantasy made woman.
Ooh.
So there was drag happening on stages all around the world. And still, queer people, sometimes the same queer people, fighting for gay rights.
Right.
In real life.
And during this time, drag was a lot more popular among sort of amateurs, sort of working class people dressing up for personal enjoyment. So the term drag versus like impersonator, right? This is like the politics of like being a female or male impersonator carries with it a certain association that drag doesn't have.
I'm obsessed with the fact that we use the word drag today. Like we didn't inherit this tradition of like theater impersonators who were maybe afraid to be outwardly queer.
Right.
We inherited this tradition of working class amateurs who were doing this for personal satisfaction, for fun, for community. And that has a spirit of rebellion in it, just in the word drag. Lip syncing became popular at this time too. It started out in bars and in restaurants where they first installed jukeboxes. I imagine there's no like real history of lip syncing, but I imagine that someone just put on a song that they knew and started performing in a bar. And then this caught on, and record shows, as they called them, became popular. And at first it kind of challenged the like trained singers.
Because so many of the impersonators, like had to do a vocal performance.
But I think it kind of invited more people to take part in paid drag opportunities.
Can you imagine if we all had to sing live?
Oh, God.
Lip syncing is a really important cultural innovation.
We know, of course, about the Stonewall riots, about what happened at Compton's cafeteria with the riots, at the Black Cat riots, also in LA, Cooper's Donuts. There were so many stories of police arresting people for literally just gathering as gay people, but also for dressing in drag. In the gay rights movement that followed, sometimes drag and trans expression was still overlooked. Sylvia Rivera, who is considered a trans icon, but called herself a drag queen in the 60s, which kind of hints to the politics of what that word meant. Wrote, the early 60s was not a good time for drag queens. I remember the first time I got arrested, I wasn't even in full drag. I was walking down the streets and the cops just snatched me. We always felt that the police were the real enemy. We expected nothing better than to be treated like we were animals. All of us were working for so many movements at that time. Everyone was involved with the women's movement, the peace movement, the civil rights movement. We were all radicals. So it was thanks to all these other political movements of the 60s, the pop cultural liberalism that maybe turned to drag on stages that led drag queens, queer and trans people to say, we're not going to take any more of this shit.
Right.
And to actually rise up and fight back against the police.
We see like a really powerful, flourishing print culture during this era. So
I'm a zine girl myself.
I know you love zines. And the idea of magazines being a way to sort of be connected and like sort of generate like contact lists and sort of networks that extend from these publications is really cool. So this is like an era where you actually needed to subscribe to a private mailing list to make sure that you knew where the clubs were.
So when you visit New York City, you know what address to go to.
One of them we can shout out is Drag magazine, of course, from Lee Brewster. We have Female Mimics from Pudgy Roberts. These were run by drag queens. And Lee Brewster was also involved with Star and Queen's Liberation Front after drag was restricted within Mattachine.
Yes, Mattachine, early gay rights organization, said we don't want any more drag. That's a separate issue.
That's
you
a
people
whole other...
go be alone by yourselves.
Mattachine Society and Daughters of Bilitis is like a whole other video. There's Transvestia on the West Coast, and then there's Turnabout on the East Coast.
Nice.
They were kind of rival publications. There was some drama there. So in 1960, Virginia Prince launched Transvestia via a mailing list that she assembled from trans pioneer and icon Louise Lawrence. So just to give you a sense of like how these subscription lists unfolded. Transvestia was really cool because there were these sort of cover girl features in every issue that featured sort of a selected cover girl drawn from the audience, from the readership, who would submit glamorous photos and receive like the cover girl treatment of a spread. And this really amplified more local community practice of like exchanging snapshots with each other, right? Like where you would have a collection of snapshots of all of your friends and you would give those photos out. You have people who identify as cross-dressers, who identify as heterosexual transvestites, transgender, transsexualists, transgenderists, drag performers, female impersonators, right? So it is messy and they all have kind of different politics, and you can kind of see those conversations.
They're writing in with their different beliefs and personal styles and why they come to it, but then they're also tuning in for like the techniques, the artistry of gender transformation, and
wig ads, and makeup techniques, and I think also just like images and stories of resistance. People found common ground in these publications, or they fought it out in the pages of the publications, which is really fun to read.
It's just like now, honestly, like we don't all identify the same way.
No.
But we are, for better or for worse, bonded together by the way others view us, the way hate looks at the queer community. And we also love beauty, you know, a little dramatization.
Yeah. So I just want to give a shout out for the Digital Transgender Archive, which has digital archives of many of these publications that we've just mentioned that are totally open access, and encourage you to read
all
them.
These magazines, see those photos,
see the drama unfold.
And you can check out Queer Music Heritage as well, which also has a lot of magazines and show programs from the various dinner theaters and professional impersonators of the time.
Yeah.
Cheers. To resistance. To cross-dressing.
So dainty. Okay, I don't even know if I can do this. All right.
Wow. We got this.
I love you.
I love you.
We have so many pages left.
And we've arrived in the 1970s.
Wow. We have drag pageants like Flawless Sabrina's Miss America All Camp Beauty Pageant, Norma Christie's Miss Gay America, community projects creating employment for thousands and networks of queer people connected across the country. Many of these were filmed and then self-distributed, which I love. I love like drag history of sort of self-documentation and distribution. Like we need to get it out. People need to see this.
That's right. Of course, Crystal LaBeija, after she did not win the rightful title of Miss America All Camp Beauty, went on to kind of revive the Harlem Ball scene that had kind of been shuttered after the war. And it grew into probably the most famous pageant lineage.
House of LaBeija?
The House of LaBeija.
Absolutely.
And the beginning of the voguing era of the 80s and 90s. The creation of the idea of mother of a house.
Which was so meaningful too in terms of like chosen family and caring for one another like outside of structures that like just were not providing that. And we have the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence
from San Francisco,
distributing free medical care to those in need, especially the folks who are unhoused or HIV positive. So we're really seeing like drag as a site of community care.
Yeah, that's my idea of religion, is like faux Catholic do-gooders, like helping queer people in need.
Right. Many people are familiar with Sylvia Rivera's "Y'all Better Quiet Down" speech at the Gay Pride rally in 1973. But I really want to say that like it's important to know the context of it. Like she was actually really speaking in response to a radical lesbian feminist group who organized to oppose drag queen performances at the Pride rally because they were misogynistic and offensive to women. So you had like this really conservative lesbian feminist group heckling all of the drag queen performers and like just generally creating like this really disruptive energy that was transphobic and really opposed to drag. They hated sex workers, they hated erotica, they hated BDSM, they hated kink, they hated trans women, they hated drag. They were miserable, and they're, in my opinion, the biggest misogynists of all.
If you do your research, you don't have to repeat the past. But it's amazing in that speech how she wins over the crowd.
Yeah.
At the beginning, they're booing her. At the end, they're cheering her on.
Yeah.
By the 90s, the Queer Nation Party was founded specifically to demand laws to protect gender expression and medical reform, Medicaid reform. We're still fighting those same battles. And they campaigned a drag queen to run for president named Joan Jett Black from Chicago with the slogan, Lick Bush, in 94. And she said, this is a presidential campaign, putting in the camp, taking out the pain, honey.
I feel like we wrapped it up. I feel so bad every time I complain about being uncomfortable in drag because I know you're more uncomfortable than me.
You should say your genitals are really hurting too.
My genitals hurt so much. Are you ready for the 90s?
I'm ready for the 90s. It's the 90s, babe.
It's the 90s. We're on the 90s now.
Now's the time that drag is more out of the box than ever, and the queer community looks for joy and play amidst losses from AIDS. And as people see the ways that drag allows bodies to become sites of freedom and joy, which we very much need, a new philosophy around sex and around gender.
It's the 90s, bitch.
It's hot, babe.
Something that's really exciting about the 90s is that it's really a drag king heyday.
Oh, yes.
New York City, we have drag kings at Club Casanova and at Hershey Bar. Are you not obsessed?
I'm obsessed with that name.
We have drag queens at the Pyramid Club, of course. We have Lady Bunny's Wigstock.
Hell yeah.
All of these things were inspiration to sort of drag theorists like Jack Halberstam and Jose Munoz. So we really have this like really powerful moment of like drag on the ground in the clubs being really taken very seriously in academia and being theorized in really powerful and exciting ways.
I think Gloria Anzaldúa is the first person to introduce the word queer to the Academy.
Yes, you're right.
In 1987.
Oh my god, and she does not get credit for that.
The year we were born.
Yes, oh my god, that's right.
Same age as queer.
Gloria Anzaldúa often does not get credit for introducing queer to the Academy.
To trouble the boundaries of gender and sexuality.
We love to trouble the boundaries.
We love to trouble the boundaries. And indeed, in this era, there are a lot of really amazing performers kind of crossing boundaries. I think of Lipsinka.
Oh,
Still a legend to this day. She performed at Wingstock.
Yeah.
And then at various fashion events, Thierry Mugler shows.
Uh-huh.
She's in Queer as Folk.
Oh,
She's in films of the 90s. Major legend.
What she's doing is so fucking incredible. Just like the drama of it all is what I'm about.
Queens and Kings are still pulling from her style, from the idea of like mixing vocal clips from films with songs.
Anytime anyone does that, it's like Lipsinka invented the genre.
Absolutely. They were like literally cutting. I don't really know. Cutting and gluing pieces.
It was not the same. It's not like now. It's like a CD.
To make the sounds. Exactly. Kevin Aviance was a club sensation. A futuristic idea of femininity that goes beyond gender and sex altogether. Also drawing from figures like Lee Bowery. Like the idea that drag can be somehow beyond the gender binary.
Yeah.
Became really powerful in the 90s.
Absolutely.
Still living that fantasy.
I love how we both tried to do a hair flip, but we
have no movable hair between the two of us. Flip the armpits.
Of course, we have to shout out, if we're talking about the 90s, we have to talk about one of my personal heroes and one of the biggest drag icons of the 90s, and that's Marie Hill.
Hell yes.
Marie Hill, of course, a comedian and legend of the downtown who began performing in sort of like 1995, 96. He actually got his start in photography. He was photographing legends like Lipsinka and Lady Bunny, and he became really interested in like, what does the other side of this look like? It was like going to Wigstock, and he was like, where are the dykes? And like, where are like the trans folks?
And there is this
like,
long history.
Yeah.
It just sometimes you need to bring it back.
Right. So he actually started off doing Elvis impersonations, which I will live.
I would love to see that.
I will live with regret forever that I couldn't be at like these clubs in the 90s witnessing early Marie Hill doing Elvis. That's very sexy to me. And then he landed on, of course, his iconic character of Marie Hill, which is the hardest working middle-aged man in show business. And of course, his catchphrase is showbiz, which is legendary. His MFA thesis, going back to him being involved in photography, was actually a series of images that depicted him in his drag running for mayor. And so he presented this honors thesis, this
Against
MFA
Giuliani,
thesis, as him running for mayor, and then he made it a reality in 1997 during the actual like New York City mayoral race. He ran a campaign as a write-in vote.
Fuck yeah!
There are all these incredible images of him like actually running this campaign in 1997. Can you imagine the world?
Can we bring that back?
Hello, Marie Hill for mayor. I'm on board.
You take care of us.
I would do anything. I also really want to shout out Dread, who is a total legend of the 90s.
Pull out your book.
Oh my God,
Let's
yes.
see.
Okay, I'm going to give it to you. Who was an incredible Haitian-American drag king, who was a prominent performer in New York City from 1995 to 2012, self-identified as a gender bender when that term was still really being popularized, known as one of the men of Club Casanova.
Oh, yes. I know Dread from Venus Boys.
Yes, and featured prominently in the Venus Boys documentary of 2002.
Iconic. If you haven't seen it, you must.
You must see Venus Boys. Again, required viewing. Hershey Bar in Manhattan hosted a series of drag king contests in 1996 where Dread won every single round. And Dread appears prominently in this really important book, which is the Drag King book from Jack Halberstam and Della Grace Volcano, 1999. And I just want to add on a personal note that I feel really fortunate that I was able to see Dread perform live many times when I first arrived in New York. I want to shout out the International Drag King Extravaganza, IDKE. The first one was held in October of 1999. It was the first of its kind event that was collaborative and non-competitive gathering of drag kings, their fans, and people who studied, photographed, and filmed them. And so IDKA had a rich history beyond 1999. I also want to shout out the early drag kings of Switch and Play, the collective that I would end up becoming a part of, were present in 2007 at IDKE. And I think 2008 as well. So this is like really a moment where like our drag icons become the people that we interacted with as we began drag,
we are
which is
nothing
really
without
special.
these traditions.
Absolutely.
It's the last section, children.
We want to give a shout out to drag kings who are not dykes, because there are many drag kings who are dykes and there are many drag kings who are faggots, and we want them all to feel represented.
Some might be both.
Some of them are both.
And that's hot.
We love fluidity.
Well, just like us, we've arrived safely to the 90s, intact and alive, barely. We're talking about the mainstream interest in drag, thanks to heroes like RuPaul, but also the thriving local generation.
So we definitely think of things like the RuPaul show, of course.
Absolutely, yeah, which started in 1996.
But also Charles Busch movies.
Oh, I'm a big fan of Die Mommy Die.
Yeah.
Psycho Beach Party.
Hello.
Camp masterpieces that reference 60s film, but bring it into a twisted 90s moment.
This is truly our favorite thing. We do love the 60s and the 90s. Things like Tu Wong Fu, of course.
Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. Lily Savage in the UK, appearing on evening and daytime television.
So we have RuPaul's Drag Race premiering in 2009 as a parody of reality TV shows like America's Next Top Model.
And Project Runway.
And it becomes one of the most successful reality TV franchises in history. I don't know if you've heard of Drag Race.
Tell me more. I think in some ways it started as one of those magazines, like kind of showcasing drag from different scenes, different styles of drag, different opinions.
Yeah.
And sharing it with the world.
Yeah.
And then, kind of ironically, it became the thing it was parodying.
Yeah.
Of course, there's been criticism for the homogenization of drag.
Lay it on me.
You know, I think we understand the way that sometimes as we try to appeal to the main... Oh, we're out.
I just slurped my last slurp.
There's been some criticism of the way that drag has appealed to mainstream sensibilities. But the truth is, that's nothing new.
No.
We've always found ways to appeal to pop culture and the mainstream by perhaps softening our message, by playing into cliches. But the real artistry often comes from a little bit outside the mainstream.
Yeah, those contradictions have always been inherent as we've explored from,
unfortunately.
1620 to the present.
Hello.
Is that what we just did?
We just did that, and it's literally been the same from the very beginning.
It's been like, oh, there are all these oppressive cultural forces and queer and trans people like being really innovative and finding ways to exist and create beyond those boundaries. So it's kind of been the same story. We're drunk, but we're not drunk enough to not recognize the patterns.
We are drunk enough to remember. If you think this is something new, you're wrong.
It's not new.
If you think this is something shocking and outrageous, you're wrong.
Nothing's new.
This is part of human culture.
Yeah.
And it's gonna stay part of it. Until we all become extinct thanks to global warming.
That's the only thing that can stop drag.
Thank you.
Because you can be like a little nerdy with your archival research and still be this hot. You can be a little nerdy with it and still look like this.
Show me.
I don't know if we're selling it. Did we sell it? Let's acknowledge your generosity in allowing me to film from my good side when we have the same good
on my channel.
Cheers. Final thoughts?
That's water. How dare you? That's repulsive. Final thoughts?
Final thoughts. Oh, we're on the last page. So we want to say that like these histories are ever evolving and we always learn of and encounter new stories.
Please, in the comments, challenge us. Tell us what you like, don't like, what we're missing.
Yeah.
That's how we learn new things.
But like, we were drunk and we did only have 15 minutes, so.
Truly, this scratches the surface. There's a lot underneath. Please do your own research.
There's so much that we couldn't cover in this.
But feel free to use us as a historical document. Use me! Oh, and also use my, if you want more information, you can purchase my book, The Big Reveal, an illustrated manifesto of drag, which features images and stories from the grand history of drag mixed with my personal memories and scalding hot tea. Whatever you bastards want. We gotta write ourselves into history because no one else is going to. Do your work. Do your research. Tell the stories. That's how we do.
And like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you. We did it.
Do you think we need to do another closing or another intro of anything?
I think we got
You
there.
really got it. I don't think we need to film anything else.